All right. Our next story comes from Security Week. And the title here is Security Teams Pay the Price, the Unfair Reality of Cyber Incidents. Oh, so I would say, I would sum this up best as saying that if you are the janitor at a company, you tacitly acknowledge that part of your job is to clean up in the cafeteria when someone spills, right? This smacks of the same kind of thing. That this appears to be a bit of a complaint about how decisions and actions taken by other parts of the business create a direct negative consequence on the IT security team. And whether that's as the result of an application security problem or some kind of compliance problem or a security incident, it all funnels back to the security team to have to go and clean it up. And I would say, like, that's their job. And I think our job is also, by the way, to figure out what happened and to help the organization minimize the likelihood of that happening in the future. But it's this one is this it's surprising to me. I mean, certainly, I, when I was the CISO, like I did on occasion call myself the head janitor, right? I head cyber janitor. That was not necessarily too far from the truth. Like, it is part of your job duty is to clean up after the messes that can happen in other parts of the business. But again, it it allows us to understand how to make sure that doesn't happen again. And so anyway, I thought this was an interesting topic because I suspect a lot of IT or a lot of infosec organizations kind of feel this down, deep down, like some animosity to other parts of the business who are making mistakes and screwing up, and then perhaps not necessarily feeling the heat or the implications of their quote actions.
Yeah, yeah, it's the whole if they would just listen to us, or if they were just smarter, if they were just, did it the right way, we wouldn't have had this issue. And now we've got to clean this up. And I think you're right. There's an aspect of I don't know that that's ever going away. That's part of why we have jobs, sadly. It, it sort of reminds me of there's a famous scene in Mad Men that's also now like a famous meme of Peggy and Don are working late, and Peggy's upset because Don's not giving her enough credit for something. And, you know, Peggy says, but you never say thank you. And Don says, that's what the money's for. Right. Where he's like, I pay you, you give me ideas. That's the job. So there's some of that here. It's I get it. Like somebody, you're in security or IT and somebody does something silly in your mind that directly causes you work, you could start to get resentful and angry about that. But understand that I think that there is a balance of letting companies do risky things to allow them to thrive. They cannot have risk zero and be successful. So our job is to help them understand where the line is that's gone too far. And frankly, our job is often to clean up the mess when something has happened. And it, we also have active adversaries attempting to do bad things. This isn't just carelessness internally. This is you have bad actors or threat actors out there intentionally trying to break in. And yeah, we got to clean that stuff up. So I don't know. I agree with you. This article did feel a little like, but flip side of this is it acknowledges aspects of burnout and not maybe not directly, but that aspect of hey, there's a load that comes with doing this job, and but I think that's true for any profession. you know you're in finance and a sales guy goes and sells a deal and the paperwork isn't just right. You've got to clean that up, or you got to go collect the money, or you got to deal with that, or you're in legal and you've got to review paperwork and contracts and fix things. Like that's kind of the job. That's why we're hired. is to facilitate that need for the business. And I don't know. I think there was kind of an implicit, if they just did XYZ, this wouldn't happen. I don't know that that's fair.
Look, every incident has a cause, right? And but but not every incident is necessarily avoidable, or at least reasonably avoidable, especially in continuing to be in business. So I'm left wondering, what's the alternative, right? So
You
it's
lock down the business so much nobody can do anything, and they come begging for permission to install anything, and you go so slow and are so ineffective that you're quickly, outgunned by your competitors and you're out of business.
yeah, right. So I think for my experience, the objective was to internalize when bad things happen, internalize what happened and use that as an opportunity to drive meaningful improvements as far upstream in whatever process as possible. Now, you're not going to be, as we just talked about, right? You're not going to be able to affirmatively stop every problem from ever happening again, right? You're not going to be able, if you have an incident that results from someone clicking on a phishing link, you're not going to be successful in forevermore preventing people from clicking on phishing links unless like the guy we talked about, you just ban people from using email,
Right.
right? Like you're just that's so then you have to look at, well, okay, what else can I do? Well, how do I mitigate the impact of the thing that happened? So recognizing that could happen, I'm going to move to phishing resistant credentials, or I'm going to do something different that mitigates the thing that we just experienced. That's what our job is. Like that was, you know, you have to do some of this proactively. Obviously, you can't wait for everything to turn into a security incident. But the job is to help the business understand how to, how to operate more securely. One of the big inputs into that process is security incidents. And so, like, there's nobody else that's going to manage them for you. And it's not like you're going to be successful in having them never happen again. So who do you want to, I'm sorry, but like being flippant here, I guess, but like, who do you want to manage them? Who do you,
So part of what I'm hearing you say is don't let a good crisis go to waste. That's part of what I'm hearing.
yes.
Um, I would say there's also times when you can't fix it and you shouldn't fix it. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're dealing with a DLP situation and you've got a disgruntled employee who's planning to leave the organization and wants to copy data to his personal device, which is not great. We don't want that. Like that's company data. They're not supposed to do it. You could build very restrictive controls around that. But that'll have a down order impact on other people's ability to share data and work with customers and work with so there's a cultural aspect there too of how controlling do you want to be with a technological control versus a policy, a written policy. And do you have the staff to manage it? Like let's say in this case, you implement DLP. It's really noisy. You've got a lot of people are going to have to investigate it. You're going to be contacting employees going, "What did you do this? Why did you do this? What's going on here? Can you show me that?" It's going to have an impact, and that impact may be not appropriate for the level of pain the business is experiencing by the occasional DLP issue where somebody has left with some critical data. And I hate to say it, but there are times all the time, businesses take a look at a problem and go, it's not like the cure is worse than the disease. I'm not going to go down this path of what it's going to take to fix this yet because it's not causing me enough pain. I have better use for those resources in that time. And we just have to accept it. And I think the other aspect of this is not assuming somebody did something bad, but just somebody made a mistake or in our mind did something that we wouldn't have done. I think one of the things, again, going back to IT and security folks, is we have this assumption that everybody has the same skill set we have. And we're frustrated when they don't. Like, how did you not understand that about this thing? And again, I say, if you have that mindset, you should try to change that, because they have their own specialties and their own skills typically and their own areas of interest that we don't have. And they're not trying to ruin your day. They just didn't know better, or they didn't, a mistake was made, or they don't have the skill set, or they come asking you for something silly, like at the last minute. And they don't understand that integration request they made is actually months of work, and they need it in a week. And now you're upset. And you're upset because you think they should have known better. And they don't even understand the context of what they're asking. So they're not intentionally trying to frustrate you by not giving you enough lead time. They honestly don't know better. And I feel like this is somewhat of the same thing here. Like we have this expectation that everybody in the business has the same skill set, awareness, knowledge, goals, uh, measurements, metrics, and reward systems that we have. And that is just not true.
Definitely agree. That no, I do agree with some of the recommendations at the very end of the article. Like the most of the article is just setting up the problem, and there's like two or three sentences that talk about the recommendations. But they recommend building relationships across the business, ensuring that the requisite people, process, and technology are in place, and ensuring preparedness. So I think like making sure that you have a well honed or well oiled incident response process, so that you're not scrambling when and if something bad happens. But I certainly agree with with the concept of as you were talking, like that resonated a lot. Like one of the ways you avoid what you were just describing is building those relationships so that people will come and talk to you early, and you have, again, it's not ever going to be perfect. It's never going to be as efficient or seamless as you want it to be. But if you do build effective linkages to the business, you'll have more of an opportunity to be involved in those business decisions, not not so that you can be obstructionist, but so that you can help facilitate and make sure that things are happening on time or happening in a secure way, or what have you. But I think fundamentally speaking, though, this is our job, and I felt like, at least from a headline perspective, my initial gut reaction was, well, who on earth is supposed to do this if not IT security?
Yeah. And one thing that occurred to me as you were saying it, like if you're in a position where everything is just well oiled, perfect functioning, no friction, no drama, you're probably not innovating. It's probably a very
Yes.
static or very slow, bureaucratic, red tape driven process. And that's probably not where your business wants to be if you're trying to get stuff done.
Yeah, and I would further say that you might think that it's well oiled, but I'm going to bet that your business partners might not.
You know what else is well oiled?
Tell me what. Can't,
No,
can't
no, I'm
imagine
just
what you're going to say.
I'm just going to put it out there and let the audience fill in the punchline.
Oh dear.
Guess what else I
Oh.
filled in last
Anyway,